Welcome our esteemed speakers, esteemed panelists, and esteemed delegates here. And this topic about leveraging digital money for secure and transparent financial transactions. And we have the honor of having Mr. Abhay Johorey, who is a digital authority for ICICI Bank. We have Mr. Rajesh Choudhary, who is the Chief Information Officer for CSB Bank. And we have Mr. Bhaskar Rao, who is the Chief Information Security Officer, Bharat Cooperative Bank itself. So we have three diverse types of banks here. ICICI is a larger bank, and on the other end we have a cooperative bank, and in the middle we have a CSB. So let me start talking to having the views of Mr. Abhay Johorey, who is a digital authority from ICICI Bank, and your views about digital money.
Yeah. Thanks, sir. So, this entire paradigm of Web 3.0 cryptocurrencies and the new way the entire finance is proposed to be conducted is very, very exciting. Yeah. I mean, it completely changes the ground rules for what we have been doing, not just for the last 50 years, but I would say 500 years. Yeah. We are reinventing banking when we are saying this. And come to think of it, we're not just reinventing banking, we are, with this paradigm, we propose to do away with all intermediaries that are available in our modern economic infrastructure. And that includes, by the way, governments as well. Yeah. So no governments, no brokers, no banks, no clubs. It's just everything is one individual to another individual. Now, in theory, this makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Because number one is you can identify and trust everyone. Yeah. So there is a uniform trust and identification. It's very easy to move value because there is only one ledger that the entire world has. Yeah. You don't have a place where each company is actually keeping its own books. Everything which is of value is on one ledger which is transparently open to everyone. So it's very easy to identify people. It's very easy to move value because now you don't need a Swift MT102 which then has to be reconciled with Nostro Vostro accounts. Because end of the day it's just one account. It's very easy to lend now because you have a reputation. You know exactly what value, and you can then keep trading it off because even the trades are actually happening off the same book. Yeah. So you can store value, you can move value, you can lend on value, you can insure value. So in theory, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. In practice, as the saying goes, in theory there is no difference between theory and practice. But in practice, there is a difference between theory and practice. So in practice, for starters, I think the technology is not ready for prime time yet. Yeah. And a classic one is, if you look at the most popular Web 3.0 digital currency, which is Bitcoin, we are able to do about, can anyone take a guess as to what is the number of transactions we can do per second? To the closest number? We can do 7 transactions per second. 7. Yeah. On a Visa switch, which is our existing financial service, we can do 20,000 transactions a second. So the difference is that staggering. That while the technology in theory can do it, in practice we do not have the infrastructure ready yet. So even if you were to look at Ethereum, you can do about 20 to 30 transactions. Yeah. So we're talking about a difference of 1,000 times. Yeah. So in theory again, everyone on the same ledger. In practice, the number of transactions that you can push through is very, very limited. So if everyone was on this book, you can imagine the kind of issues we would get in. Yeah. That's issue number one. Issue number two is a more profound one. If you were to look at internet, and that was something as revolutionary, right? That, anyone can actually access the encyclopedia all over the world. Yeah. The point is that we had a bunch of very, very dedicated folks who thrashed out standards. Yeah? You had ICANN, you had W3C, who then said that this is how the HTTPS protocol will evolve. This is how nomenclature of URLs is going to be. And therefore, you had a semblance of rules of engagement. In the new world, because there are no intermediaries, there are also no committees which can actually oversee this. So that is another big issue, is who will actually set the standards for all of this to go ahead. The third issue is, and it's happened with the internet as well, is the incumbents of the current world will disproportionately gain as opposed to new entrants. Yeah. So if you really look at it, a Facebook or a Google, or an Amazon will be the first one to get onto this whole internet of value. Yeah, because at the end of the day, they anyway control the internet. So, but they control the internet, which is internet of knowledge. Now, suddenly, if you're proposing an internet of value in the new paradigm, then these are the guys who control it. And that then goes against the fact of there is egalitarianism, there is equality, there is equity with everyone. So there are some of these issues that they have to worry about. And I'm not even talking about the fact that criminals are the first ones that have actually taken over to the digital currency. That the governments are actually, pretty much opposed to it because it undermines their own power. Because there is no overall, hierarchy over it. So what we will probably end up will be a very diluted version of what is possible. Having said that, the theory is worth pursuing, because at some point in time, we will have enough compute. And moment we have enough compute, some of these things will actually become commercially possible, which means that, financial inclusion will increase, speed with which, money transfers happen will increase, and overall there'll be goodness in the world. So worthwhile pursuing this.
Fantastic inputs. I think you have provided all the pros and cons already. So let me take this discussion a bit more at a ground level, because as you have mentioned that trading in working exactly in the crypto world is a bit more far away. We have gone digital in the BFSI ecosystem in a big way. Government of India itself is now encouraging UPI, which may be a very, very basic version of a digital rupee, perhaps. That you have got 100 rupees and you are pressing a button and it's transferred to another bank account, stuff like that. It's a very, very basic or a crude version of a digital.
See, I disagree. Because what's happening, even with a UPI or an NEFT or a RTGS, is you still have two separate set of books.
Yes.
So that debit happens on one set of books, the credit also happens on that set of books, and then the two books have to be reconciled. Yeah. Now, in the new paradigm, there is one book.
One book. I agree.
So therefore, what we are doing is we are automating the old world.
Yes.
Which is the giant leap forward.
Yeah.
Which is needed.
Yeah.
But which is not the new world.
I agree.
Yeah?
I agree.
It's
I agree. So like I mentioned that is the future, and let us return back to the current situation, and let's start looking at how do we go from here to here, right. So let me ask our other panelists to talk about some of the views on the the whole concept of a digital rupee which we talked about. So any views on that part where you are talking about the not about crypto, but a digital rupee or a digital currency itself.
I think, Ravi, with initiatives like UPI and the significant work happening in the payment space from India, I think the entire world is recognizing what India is doing. And digital rupee is going to be one of the new initiatives. I think there are lots of positives, lots of key takeaways what all of us have from the initiative. In the bank, we are already talking about it. how we can use it, and what opportunities lies, what are the use cases, etc. Uh, some of them are like no-brainers, like digital currency, no physical paper, so difficult to have the fake currency. So lots of issues of those nature goes away. Banks have to invest quite a lot of money in terms of currency chest, etc. So huge infrastructure required across the board, across the country, to keep that money safeguarded. So significant amount of cost will get reduced with digital currency. And of course, the maintenance cost for the digital currency is going to be a lot lower than what it is for the physical currency, and that kind of enhances opportunities. And the cost of per transaction will also be lower than the paper currency. So that will increase adoption and make it easier for everybody to adopt it seamlessly. I think that looks like that's what's going to happen, but I think we'll see when the reality hits us.
Exactly. And let me request Bhaskar Rao to please comment on this.
Yeah, I'll talk about the cooperative segment actually. When we talk about digitization, for cooperative bank, it is what you call in last 4 or 5 years, the digitization has taken place. If some way or the other, the cooperative banks are little bit behind the technology when you talk about the large bank or the medium-sized bank. And it happened, what happened when we started demonetization? Actually, the bank started working on that. Earlier, there was a very few banks who were into digitization. That was the phase when it started. And when after COVID, every bank started jumping on the digitization. Now, presently, there are many banks, they are giving all type of services, but we are restricted up to UPI. We just can't go beyond that because of there are many issues are there. You talk about technology, you talk about manpower, you talk about infrastructure. Because some way or the other, the cooperative banks are not up to that level, which you talk about the ICICI or CSB or the other private bank. So we have been working. When you talk about digital money, it's still a long way to go for the cooperative bank. Definitely, I would say on that it's a long way to go. But most of the banks are now on the UPI. You talk about this mobile banking and everything, internet banking. Still, because the industry, the type of industry is we are catering to the last person in the rural area. Most of the bank may not be having the last person in the rural area we are reaching. And the level of technology what those people are using is different altogether. So to cater them, we are giving the services, but it will take a long time for the cooperative bank to accept and adopt the digital currency.
So, let me request Abhay Johorey to talk about. So, as I mentioned that we are in the stage of UPI, and there is a whole journey to like reach at the other end of the spectrum. So, what does this journey look like in your opinion, and what are the possible ways to go there, and what are the possible challenges to look at?
It's a fairly arduous task. I mean, there are two things to be done. Is we moved from a fiat money, which is the money that governments issues in a paper form, to fiat money, which is now digitized. And that's been digitized for about 50 years now. 1970 is when the banks started automating with the mainframes and all. So to that extent, even when banks actually exchange monies, a very large part is actually done digitally for quite some time. But it continues to be fiat money. If you're looking at a transition from fiat to crypto, like I said, several things need to change. We need to have a technology infrastructure, and quantum is just around the corner. So if that were to happen, we have enough scale there, enough compute power there, and obviously storage and networking will follow. The other big issue is the power that's needed. To make it difficult, for criminal elements to actually duplicate this, you have added a lot of crypto features, which actually takes a lot of energy. So the energy that it takes, especially in this whole context of climate change and all, we also, in addition to new computing, needs new sources of power. Yeah, and again, nuclear fusion is a possibility there. So let's say 4 or 5 big things have to happen. Nuclear fusion has to happen. Quantum computing has to happen. Then suddenly this whole technical part is solved. But that's the easy part. The more difficult part is this entire societal change. Will I become transparent? My biggest source of competitive, advantage, a corporate might think that way, is my bookkeeping, is the knowledge asymmetry that I have with the rest of the world is my competitive advantage. That advantage goes away. Now everyone knows. All corporate actions are known. Every debit, credit of any entity can actually be transparently seen. Then suddenly you have to look for new ways, of competitive advantage, which again, my sense is the world will gain. But the answer here are more societal, cultural, and technical, and that takes generations to do. But I think, let's be optimistic here. The first thing is a new source of power and a new source of computing. If that happens, the rest of the stuff will follow. Pretty much like the printing press did it. We used to carve it on stone tablets, right? Money used to be, certain kind of stones or metals like gold, and that moved to paper. Moving from gold to paper took us thousands of years, yeah. And we've been on paper, and then from paper to bits and atoms, but on everyone owning their own ledgers. Yeah. So that the last change will the issue is not technical. Yeah, technical, my sense is give or take 15 to 20 years, we'll solve it. The bigger issue is the cultural one.
Raji has talked about the cultural issues. I will go on this issue of the cultural issue in terms of basic adoption of the digital banking and digital currency, which is perhaps right now online transaction or UPI, perhaps. So in last 4 years, especially after the COVID, a lot of digital transactions happen. You want to leave? Okay. It's okay. So let me ask you that in last 4 or 5 years, this whole issue of digital transaction, digital online payments, reduction in usage of the checkbook itself. So how all these changes are transforming the banking sector itself, and what is the road ahead in terms of next 3 years or 4 years?
So, I think any use case or any service we consume online, one of the fundamental challenges is security risk, because you are hooked up to the large word, a significant part of which is not known, not visible, and anybody can do anything which you are not aware. So that's the biggest challenge what we have to look after. And of course, thanks to lots of work which is being done and which is being done in the cybersecurity space, and there are lots of solutions, tools, technologies which are available, and continuously new ones are coming. That is solving the problem. But I think from the technology limitation perspective, we are probably reaching somewhere at the maturity level, and we need something more. And as Abhay was talking about, we are waiting eagerly for the quantum computing to arrive and give us that immense power what is needed to safeguard us from these kind of issues. But until then, we'll just keep doing the work what we have to do. There are lots of benefits also. So like the digital rupee or UPI, because it is digital in nature, it opens the entire world to you. So like UPI, we just started in our country, it's successful, and now about 10, 12 countries are adopting it. Similarly, you never know the future of digital rupee, what it could be if we use success of UPI as the reference. So it's limitless. So we just need to keep removing the hindrances, keep removing the friction, that it is very seamless, it is very user friendly and very easy to adopt, and the entire world is at your disposal.
As far as digitization is concerned in India, right, I already said that on two instances which took place. I think, according to me, India has moved very fast in the digitization of entire world. If you talk about, I was listening to the Pradhan Mantri, what he said in the US. 40 transaction out of 100 is done by India. It means 40% transaction world is done within the country. That is a huge achievement actually. If you talk about myself, when I came into industry in 2004, I used to see huge line for the check deposit, for the cash. Today, I can't find people in the branches. We have to search for the footfall. It become like that. The way we moved is a very fast, very huge success for the infrastructure. But in this entire process, the security was a big concern. Because you see the awareness what people have. I've been visiting to rural branches also. Even in the rural area, the transaction, digital transaction is very huge. It is. Even everybody now just scan it, make the payment. You talk about 50 rupees, 100 rupees, whatever. They scan and make payment. But in that process, the awareness what people have regarding digital channels, regarding security, regarding cyber security, so the volume of frauds which are taking place is also increasing drastically. So these things are to be taken. The customer awareness has to be created. Those are a very important point because the way we move forward, it is a really area of concern. The way hacking is taking place, the way something happened in the few cooperative banks which took place. We all know. I don't want to name it, but these things are there. The security is one of the major concern in this entire arena.
Sure. So I think we have heard the views of our panelists. Any questions or any inputs of the audience? We can have that. Please identify yourself, give your name and organization.
Can we pass on the mic to the gentleman?
Mike, please.
Hello, I am Ajit Kumar. I am representing Federal Bank. Yeah. In fact, I would like to give some observations. Basically, Reserve Bank has already started this e-rupee project, both for the wholesale banking as well as retail banking. So, our bank was also part of the pilot that is ongoing process. And few observations which I am just trying to add is that one is that from a at least the retail e-rupee is concerned, for a user it's almost similar to UPI. So that is one of the constraints what the system itself is seeing as of now. Basically because ultimate user doesn't see any incremental value in using e-rupee. Okay, and the concept that has been put in the pilot is that equivalent of the rupee, you can get it as a token on your mobile, and just like our UPI QR code, you will be able to scan with the merchant and the fund transfer happen immediately. And as one of the panelists explained, the key is that there is no separate settlement that is happening. UPI, you may be knowing that now the transaction happens, maybe banks after a few hours or maybe tomorrow, they will do the settlement. So that process is actually taken out. So it is giving, some clear advantage as far as banks is concerned. But for the consumer, still, we don't know what is going to happen. But one of the process that is again going on as part of the pilot is that whether the UPI and digital e-rupee can be interlinked. That means using the UPI QR code itself, you can do a CBDC transaction. So I'm hoping that maybe once that comes into place, then this will pick up quite fast. And to your observations on the cooperative bank, on this at least I will say it's better to wait, because there is a lot of intricacies involved in terms of the technology infrastructure, security issues, etc., and even the process related issues. So let at least the other banks and larger banks understand every aspect of it, and then say if the cooperative segment also participate, it will be better. Okay.
I do agree, sir. Thank you.
Any comments on this?
I think I agree with the gentleman, and the specific, the incremental use cases of the digital currency. So this is being explored, and how incrementally it will provide the value or what benefits will be there. So it is to be seen. So yeah, I agree.
So with this, we can close the panel. I thank our esteemed speakers and our esteemed audience for joining this panel.
Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.